the guy called me in. He says, he was a Christian man in the area. He says, "Hey, I was praying for you, after I heard you got sick." And he says, I think what the Lord's told me is that He's got you right where He wants you, and that was amazing. That's amazing. And hey, if I say, if I say these things, this is the actual story. I'm not making this up. You know, uh, what happened. Next was, the next event was going to the doctor's office and having saying, "Hey, what we're doing isn't enough." I just had it. I'd broken as a person. Everything that I had, was in flames, tatters, burning basically. Cars had been repossessed. My house, I was about ready to lose my house. I'm sick as a dog. I've got, the household's on one income. We're struggling, and to be honest, hey, I started to pray, and that might sound a little odd to some people. I make no apologies for this. That's why I started to do this. Is a true story. Um, in between the time, I said, hey, I'm going to do everything I can medically to recover. And so I started on the different, I called my doctor back and said, okay, hey, let's start with the least invasive thing that we can. He started me on some oral medications, and the first one I took, gave me migraines. And I said, hey, how's that feel being sick with a long-term disease, getting twisted in pain, and then what's supposed to be a help, for it, gives you migraines. So I called him back and said, listen, I can't take this. It's giving me migraines, it's a side effect. What else do we have? He says, well, here, let's try another oral medication. He says, I have this one. It's called Plaquilone. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. I started taking that. To be honest, it gave me every side effect and every reaction that's listed in the medical guide for it. And they were pretty horrific. Personality changes. Now look at my notes here. Personality changes, irritability, delusions. The other thing that it gave me was 5 days of insomnia. And if that didn't kick off a lot, my wife is an RN. She noticed the personality changes. It was pretty extreme. To where I was crying and breaking down, and I set up a tent, and I have a workshop attached to the house. I was out. It was pretty extreme, and we recognized that it was a reaction to this. We called the doctor, and it's the only time I've ever it's the reason why hey, even at my worst times I wasn't about self treatment, and I called the doctor. I said this is one of the few times I've ever done this. And I told him, I said, this is just not a medication that I should be taken off of. I won't take it. And it was that bad. 5 days of insomnia. There were some nights I'd sleep zero. I got up to about 2-3 hours a night by the time the insomnia finally subsided. My doctor had switched me to then the next choice in the course, which was taking 2 times the Humira. I already told you about that. What had happened is over the next 30 days, my insomnia continued to look for 5 days. After that, I just wasn't able to catch up on sleep, and sleep became a real, an area where, hey, after taking that medication and all of the changes that happened with it, now I'm not sleeping, and after that, I started to have some really bad night sweats. Not just a little glistening. Hey, it was to the point where I was soaking, my pillow. I could take it up and slap the pillow. Water go flying. Sweat would go flying everywhere. I started sleeping with a towel beside my bed. I couldn't sleep in the same covers all night. I had to throw them over. And actually get a new set of covers because I was soaking wet. Wake up, towel off. That was happening 2 to 3 times a night. And I thought I was dying. In all honesty. The other thing was I fell asleep driving twice during that time. I did quit driving then. I was falling asleep at 10 a.m. in the morning, and on a good day, I'd fall asleep at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and that wasn't working. my condition just went from bad with RA to worse. And if you know the effect that not getting the proper amount of sleep has on your pain level, I was just out of control. I was hurting. I felt like I was ready to die, and I'll tell you what, in some ways, this is just plain honest. I wouldn't have said I was depressed, but I'll tell you what, I was hurting bad. I was one hurting unit, And I went to my family doctor and made an appointment with him because I work pretty closely with him too. I said, hey, I've developed this sleep problem. 9 years ago, my wife told me I quit breathing when I slept. Here's everything that's going on. I read through the symptom list and had all that stuff prepared. Hey, one of these days I'll do a video on on symptoms. There's some pretty expansive, symptoms out there that, a little pamphlet. There's difference between signs and symptoms. And we'll get into that in that video. And but hey, I had a lot of signs and a lot of symptoms, and I'll tell you what. I went to the doctor. I said, hey, would you send me for a sleep test? And when you work with physicians, they realize, hey, when you're a reasonable person, when you're trying to, to be, not take charge of your own care, in terms of, going off the page with treatments and that kind of stuff. But when you're really trying everything, and you're addressing all the points, doctors really appreciate that kind of working with someone. And hey, it's a joy to their job. Don't take it away from them by self-treatment. Pappy's big on that. And but anyway, so what happened is I went to my sleep test, my polysomnogram. It took me about a month to get in. That's pretty typical, for sleep medicine. These places are jammed. Like I said, 30 days of really misery and feeling like I was dying. And went in there, and sure enough, what came back was a diagnosis of sleep apnea. And they prescribed me. Here's basically how it went. I went to my sleep test. I had to push everything through. Calling different doctors' offices. Hey, do you have the results yet? Okay, what is it? Is there a prescription? Calling a home care company. Finally I got a hold of. I cut about a week off of the time it took me to get the CPAP machine in. I started CPAP, and basically, the home care company, they said, okay, here's the mask you're titrated with. Here's your CPAP machine. Here's how to turn it on, turn it off. Fill the water like this. Good luck. And that's very common. In sleep medicine, it's too common for such a difficult treatment. The American Apnea Association estimates that between 40 and 50% of people who start, or have a diagnosis of sleep apnea, whether it's the 25% that walk out on through to the people that seem to go through the motions, take home a machine, try it for a couple nights, give up, and put it in a drawer, and they never see it again. 40 to 50% noncompliance. I looked around for something that was worse than that. The only thing that I found that was more non-compliant than that was in the field of dentistry. And 60% of people don't floss their teeth. That's it. It's the worst area in medicine. And here I go into a home care company that's supposed to be providing care, and they say, hey, good luck. That's unacceptable. And hey, I love my home care people, but this is an area this is the reason why CPAP choice exists, because it is a difficult treatment. It's got the worst compliance in medicine. But it has such a dramatic, effect on people's lives. It can help so many people. There's not enough people out there giving support, not enough people educating. That's why CPAP Choice is here. It's going to be your place for reviews, opinions, encouragement. Encouragement's big. Big. This is a difficult treatment. If one person's life can be changed by just a little bit of encouragement, Pappy's here to do that. That's why I started CPAP Choice. Folks, it is my passion. And here we go with the rest of the story. Okay, the rest of the story is this. I started CPAP. First night, I slept for 9.5 hours. I woke up, hey, I was still tired, still falling asleep about 1 o'clock. Second night, slept for 9.5 hours. That next day, hey, Pappy's big on self-improvement. Hey, I was out taking a class, improving myself, learning stuff. I spent about 6 hours in a steel folding chair. Ordinarily that would be difficult. It wasn't as difficult for some reason. And I started to see a change there. And on the way home, I said, wow, I just spent 6 hours in a folding chair. I don't know if it was my passion, for trying to improve, our situation, trying to get some education to move on with my career. It's just something that wasn't so physical. But I don't know what it was, but whatever I was able to sit 6 hours in a steel folding chair, that's pretty impressive considering I spend 12 to 15 in a recliner. I could barely stand it, without pain medicine. Went to go to sleep that night. It was about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I